Welcome to Focus on the Candidates. I'm Cynthia Poulin. My guest today is Jeff Young. And Jeff is going to talk about a Supreme, Supreme Court decision. So tell us exactly what's going on.
Okay, well, it's not a decision yet. I recently filed a petition for certiorari to the U.S. Supreme Court, asking them to overturn some state court decisions or orders issued over the past year in a case I filed. I'm not an attorney, but I've I've filed a lot of lawsuits over the past 10 years as a non-attorney.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, all of them have been, almost all of them have been on the subject of the two major parties, Republican and Democratic parties in Kentucky, rigging their own primaries, which I think is illegal.
So has any of them been heard?
Well, heard.
Debated, talked about.
So these cases, they start out at the level of the Kentucky circuit courts. There's a bunch of circuit courts in Kentucky,
Mm-hmm.
and they try civil cases, or they are supposed to try civil cases. And so I've been filing. So I'll just describe the first one. Well, it was in 2015 when I was running for the governor of Kentucky as a Democrat. And I realized that the previous year, when I was running for the U.S. House of Representatives as a Democrat, the Kentucky Democratic Party and its leaders rigged the primary against me. It took me about a year to figure that out. I didn't realize it at first. So in 2015, I was running for governor, and they obviously rigged it. I couldn't miss it. And they rigged it using tricks like threatening to arrest me if I walked into a county party meeting or a meeting of the Kentucky Democratic Party in the capital, Frankfort. Just walking in, they would call the police. And so I didn't think that was fair. I think it constituted illegal election meddling in their own primaries. So I started suing them in 2015.
Okay.
Went to the Franklin County Circuit Court, where the judge simply threw it out after the Democrats and their lawyers filed a motion to dismiss for, quote, failure to state a claim upon which relief can be granted.
So when you filed these, um, did you have um a lawyer or did you do it yourself?
Never. No lawyer would take the case for one thing.
Wow.
And for another thing, well, because I'm suing like the governor, I'm suing the Kentucky Democratic Party, and no lawyer is going to take that. Uh, also, I began to learn about the law, and I didn't want a lawyer at that point. I just wanted to file them myself and see what happened.
Okay.
So the Franklin County Circuit Court threw out my lawsuit for election fraud, basically. election rigging. Primaries are supposed to be where the voters of that party decide who they want their nominee to be
Right.
for any office,
Mm-hmm.
especially something famous like governor of Kentucky. That people are interested in Democrats or whatever party it is, want to be able to have some say into who's going to represent them in
Mm.
the general election in November. But the parties think they should be able to decide. They don't care what their own members want. They think, oh, we know best. We've been doing this, and these rank and file Democrats never come to our meetings, never contribute any money. We should get to decide who our nominees will be.
Right.
It's kind of like human nature. We're doing all the work. We should have the power.
Right.
But uh, the reason they have primaries, uh, they first became popular in America for president around the year 1900, end of the 1800s. And the purpose is to allow the voters of that party to decide
Mm-hmm.
who the nominee. Often the primary is the most important election, more important than the general election, because
Right.
the general election, you know, there's always going to be a Democrat, there's always going to be a Republican, and you always know pretty much what they're going to say, what what ideology they will have, and what they will do when they get elected. But in primaries, you can actually have discussion and debates about the issues, what the issues should be, what's important, what's not important to the voters. And so primaries are much more important, I think, in a functioning democratic republic than the general election, where it's all a matter of who is able to afford the most TV ads.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Uh,
True.
and TV ads are utterly uninformative. You
Mm-hmm.
don't learn a thing by watching candidates' ads on TV. You learn nothing.
Mm-hmm.
You just learn, oh, I'm a good Republican. I'm going to stick it to the Democrats or vice versa. That's all
Right.
you get on TV. So, it's all about who has the most money.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, all right. So I was of the opinion ever since 2015 that parties should not be allowed to rig their own primaries and ignore the will of the voters. And we have a law in Kentucky that says parties that are big enough to have primaries, and at this time it's only the Democrats and Republicans that are large enough. Parties that have primaries must use them. The leadership of the party may not provide any method for nominating their candidate, choosing their nominees, other than a primary, as described in this statute.
Mm-hmm.
And what that suggested to me was that the leadership can't rig them. They have to let the voters choose. So they have to be neutral. They can't favor, the incumbent or their favorite person in a primary. They have to make it fair.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a very short section of the Kentucky Constitution that says all elections shall be free and equal.
Okay.
So Kentucky has that in our Constitution, supposedly the highest law in Kentucky. Um, and the parties just have never liked it. They always wanted to choose their nominees, regardless of the voters. All right, so I filed lawsuit after lawsuit over the last 10 years, 11 years, saying The Democrats rigged it.
Okay.
Illegally, they violated this particular law, and therefore their candidate, their favored candidate, should be kicked off the ballot, because the law in Kentucky says that you have to seek the nomination or run in the general election according to law.
Right.
And I'm saying, well, none of these opponents of mine have all of them have violated the law to get the nomination.
Mhm.
They conspired with the Kentucky Democratic Party leadership to rig it. And every case so far has been thrown out of court by the circuit court judge.
Okay.
I appeal them routinely to the Court of Appeals. The Court of Appeals says, well, the circuit court judge threw this case out, and therefore we're going to deny this appeal. In other words, they don't do any appeal work at all. They don't review the details. They don't even read what I wrote in my appeal. They just say, oh, the circuit court ruled this way, and we uphold the decision of the circuit court. And then I routinely appealed it to the Kentucky Supreme Court,
Mhm.
which is the highest level in Kentucky. And they routinely say, well, no, we're not going to review this case. And that's all they say. I mean,
They
that's
don't
all.
give a reason.
They don't have to, because they have what's called discretionary review. They have so, every time I appeal it to the Kentucky Supreme Court, except in 2024, that was the one time that the Kentucky Supreme Court actually took the appeal. But we'll get to that in a minute. But all the times from 2015 up till 2023, the Kentucky Supreme Court has simply said, no, discretionary review is denied. And that's all they have to say, one sentence.
Mhm.
And then I take it to the US Supreme Court. And so far, every time I have filed a petition for certiorari with the US Supreme Court, they've just simply said certification, certiorari, sorry,
That's
denied.
okay.
So they haven't heard it. So in
What's their
2024,
reason?
they don't have to give one. That's been a feature of the Supreme Courts, state and federal,
Wow.
for many years.
Wow.
Uh, they get hundreds of cases, and they only try a few percent of them every year.
Mhm.
But anyway, 2024 was different. I was running for the U.S. House of Representatives in Louisville, Kentucky's 3rd congressional district, against the establishment favored Democrat, Morgan McGarvey, in the primary. And, he just rigged it the same way they always do.
And
Refused to do
you were running as a Democrat in the
in
pro.
2024. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Most of the time I've been a Democrat
Okay.
until, the end of 2024, when I joined a new party. I helped form a new party called the Kentucky Party,
Right.
which you interviewed me about that
Yep.
a while ago. Uh, but I was a Democrat in every election from 2014 up until the end of 2024,
Hmm.
except for one. In 2020, I switched parties and ran in the Republican primary for the U.S. House of Representatives
Okay.
against a guy named Andy Barr, very pro-war,
And how did
far
that go?
right-wing Republican. And they rigged it. Republican Party of Kentucky rigged it in exactly the same way, which and they do it by refusing to debate. Okay, they have a right to refuse to debate.
Mhm.
That's they're not violating a law by refusing to debate, but by giving a tremendous amount of in-kind contributions to their favored candidate and zero to any challenger in the primary. And that's illegal. The party itself is not supposed to, it's supposed to treat all the candidates in a primary fairly and
Mhm.
equally, and they never do. They just, they give a tremendous amount of free advertising. Uh, they never admit that the favored candidate has any opponents at all. We don't exist. So the favored candidate is unopposed in effect as far as
So,
the parties are concerned.
over the years, have you talked to a lot of challengers?
Yeah, sure.
What's their reaction? What do they tell you?
Um, I guess they figure this is how it is. I mean, what kind of challengers are you asking about?
The any kind of challengers that's running against the more or less status quo.
Yeah, I've talked to a lot of them. I've worked on some of their campaigns to help them beat the favored one. And I guess they figure, well, this is how it is. It's the system is rigged, and eventually they stop running.
Wow.
You know, it's very discouraging when you see the entire party is stacked against you. You know, your own party is trying to make you go away.
Jeff, Jeff, would you say now you're talking about Kentucky? Would
Yeah,
you say this happens in other states besides
yeah.
Kentucky?
Oh, I know it does. It probably
It
happens in every state, all 50 states, routinely. I mean, you hear about Democratic candidates in, you know, like Nevada or someplace, and they say, well, the leadership told me that unless I contribute $200,000 to the party, I'm never going to win the primary. Yeah, some stuff like that. Obviously illegal,
okay.
um, and nothing ever happens. No, nobody ever sues their own party that I'm aware of. I guess
But
I'm the first one.
right, okay. So the people in other states who do not sue the party, do they just go away quietly? Would you
Yeah,
say?
yeah, I would say so. I mean, they may try to run, you know, 2 years later, whatever, but they go away. They run into a brick wall, and I would say that's true of every state in the country.
Wow. Wow.
So anyway, so this current petition for certiorari, based on my 2024 experience in Louisville, um, that started off the same way all the others have, where I was running in the primary. There was another Democrat named Jared Randall, who, so it was a three-way primary. Uh, and you know, Morgan McGarvey, the incumbent establishment candidate, uh, pretended we didn't exist, never responded to any of our emails or messages or phone calls, messages on social media. We don't exist. Okay. I went to a meeting of the Louisville Democratic Party, the county party, and they gave me 5 minutes to to just talk about my platform and why I should be the nominee.
Mhm.
I asked them after the meeting ended, I want a debate, I want a three-way debate uh, on the issues with Morgan McGarvey, Jared Randall, and me. And all you have to do, we'll set it up. I'll set up the whole thing. All you have to do is say, yeah, we're going to co-sponsor this debate. And they said they didn't answer, but you know, a week or so later, in an email, they said, no way, not going to happen. We don't do that. We don't have the resources. I said, well, you don't need to expend any resource. I just said I was going to set it up and publicize it, and you don't have to expend any resources whatsoever. All you have to do is say, yeah, we sponsor it. And they never did.
Okay, let me ask you this. You know that I speak to Diane Sack quite a bit.
Oh, yeah.
And Diane, when she ran against Schumer, then she ran against Gillibrand, back to back.
Hmm.
They fudged the numbers on election night. Um, so would you say that different?
How did, I'm sorry, which numbers did the vote totals,
Yeah,
the final results,
yep,
they used inaccurate data? Is that what
yep,
you're saying? Okay,
yep.
got
N-
it.
Now, would you say that that practice happens in other states besides?
It never I don't think it ever happened to me.
Okay.
I think they rigged it so thoroughly beforehand that they didn't need to alter the vote totals, which is obviously a crime.
Mm-hmm.
In my case, all these primaries that I ran in, they never had to do that. The incumbent was going to win no matter what, whether he debated me or not, or whether they treated me fairly or not. The incumbent was a shoe-in,
Okay.
but they rigged it anyway.
Okay.
They just, you know, because they felt they could.
Okay.
Uh,
In what ways did they rig it?
okay, well, one was they threatened to arrest me if I just walk in and sit down at a party meeting. That's, you know, I was never disruptive. According to Robert's Rules of Order, the only time where a member can lawfully be kicked out of a meeting is if they're disruptive at that meeting. And the chair says, um, I'd like to ask you all to vote on whether this individual should be expelled from this meeting. And they all vote, you know, and the majority votes to expel the person. That's the only time they can legally expel a member from one of their meetings. But um, they never went through that procedure. The chair would come up to me as you know, as soon as I walked in the door, or when I was in the parking lot walking toward the door, the chair would come out and say, if you come in, we're going to arrest you. We're going to have you arrested for trespassing. All right, so that's illegal. And then the main way is by giving all this money and resources and campaign help to the favored candidate and nothing to the challenger.
Oh,
That's that's illegal, but the judges in Kentucky don't agree. They think it's fine. I think
Okay.
the position of the judges from 2015 till today has
Mhm.
been that as long as a primary occurs, uh, no law has been broken.
Well, so you formed a new party in Kentucky.
Right, 2024, the Kentucky Party.
So the Democratic leadership cannot do anything to you.
That's correct.
Okay. Okay, so you filed to the Supreme Court. When do you think they will hear the case?
Well, there's a screening process.
Okay,
They don't have to hear any particular case. As I said, they can refuse cert or certiorari with this one-line letter that says certiorari denied, and that's the end of it. There's no higher court that you
right.
can appeal to. But so I got I guess it was a letter from the U.S. Supreme Court um, saying that there will be a conference to look at all these possible cases. Actually, today, October 17th, in at the U.S. Supreme Court, where their legal assistants and staff and I don't know what happens in these conferences, but
Okay.
that's it could be they could decide today whether they're going to hear the appeal or not.
Okay. So if they do not hear the appeal,
Hmm.
where do you go from here?
Well, I run for a different office in 2026. I mean, I just go on with my life and keep records of everything that happened and
Right?
and use it in future cases. But
Okay, but
if the US Supreme Court declines to grant certiorari, that's the end of the road. I don't do anything else on that case.
okay. So you would run for a different office and go through the whole procedure all over again.
Well, I'm running in 2026. I'm running for the Kentucky House of Representatives, which is a much
Okay.
lower office than
Okay.
it's a local office. The Kentucky legislature meets in Frankfurt, and um, there's 100 representatives in Kentucky for each little group of people in Kentucky. So the state is divided into 100 districts. And so I don't see how they can rig that one. I mean, I imagine they could, but uh,
Okay.
it's not a primary. I won't have a primary in
Right.
2026.
Right.
So I think the whole issue of rigging, I'm sidestepping it next year by running for a lower office. Definitely an office I want. I want to win that one because there are a lot of things that can be improved
Mm-hmm.
uh, in Kentucky at the state level, and I have a lot of ideas about what changes need to be made, what laws need to be amended or repealed, and so on. I
Okay.
think I'd make a really good legislator,
And so,
but I'm not running for U.S. House of Representatives next year. Been there, done that.
okay. So as you know, your next campaign evolves, would you come back on
Oh
Focus
yeah.
on the Candidate and talk about, as uh, each step along the way, can you enlighten? And can you also enlighten our audience whether or not the Supreme Court will hear your case?
Well, I'd be very happy to talk about the various phases of a campaign. Um, I've been doing this since, I guess, 2012 when I ran
Okay.
for the Kentucky House
Mhm.
as a Green, member of the Green Party of the United States, Green Party of
Uh-huh.
Kentucky. But as to whether the U.S. Supreme Court will grant certiorari, I have no idea.
Okay.
All I can say is this is the best petition I've written yet out of the dozen or so in the past 11 years. This is my best effort.
Okay, so keep me contact me and let me know what's going on and
Okay, sure.
another show. We'll do another show.
Very good. Thank you.
So you've been listening to Jeff Young. I'm Cynthia Poulin. This is Focus on the Candidates. And if you like this show, please subscribe to my YouTube channel and please mark your calendars August 1st, the first Saturday 2026 is creating National Candidate Recognition Day. July 4th will be America's 250th birthday. And on the 4th of on August 1st, I want to celebrate all of the candidates who have run up until the present, who have worked hard to make sure we have 250 birthdays celebrating America. So, Jeff will talk again. And thank you, everybody, for listening. Have a great day.